Kokkuri-san, Kokkuri-san, please come.
Okay, so since this might be the first time you've heard of this, here's a brief description of Kokkuri-san. Kokkuri-san is kind of like a type of Japanese Ouija board game, but instead of a board, they use a piece of paper, and instead of a planchette, they use a 10-yen coin. To play, you need 4 things: a piece of paper, a pen, a 10-yen coin, and preferably a table to put the paper on and sit around. Here's how they play. First, on the paper you write yes and no, and between them, drawing a shrine gate. Beneath that you write the Japanese alphabet and numbers. Next, usually 2 to 3 people gather around a table and put the 10-yen coin down on the paper. Everyone puts their index finger on the coin and calls for Kokkuri-san. The players call out, "Kokkuri-san, Kokkuri-san, please come. If you are here, please say yes," and the 10-yen coin will begin to move. Next, just like a Ouija board, you ask the questions you like answered. The coin will move to spell out the answers. Once a single question has been answered, the players ask, "Please return to the shrine gate," and the coin will move towards it. When you want to finish the session, just like with a Ouija board, you must say goodbye. To do this, you say, "Kokkuri-san, Kokkuri-san, please return now," or "Kokkuri-san, Kokkuri-san, please go home." Once the coin moves to yes, and then returns to the shrine gate, all the players finish by saying thank you, and the game is over. So it's very much like a Ouija board, but according to the instructions, the alphabet must be written out in the Japanese alphabet. I don't know whether or not it would work with English. It's generally popular amongst junior high school students and some elementary school students. I'm not sure of the popularity now, but it's still well known here in Japan. And now, on to the stories. Immediately after lunch, several girls started playing Kokkuri-san. At first, I just thought, what a stupid thing to do again. But as they asked 1 or 2 questions, I gradually started to feel short of breath. After about 5 minutes, I was so tired that my eyes were blurred, and I thought, this is bad, and I left the classroom to go to the nurse's office. At the time, my senior was a second-year student. The classroom was on the 3rd floor, and the nurse's office was on the 1st floor. Feeling indescribably sick, I finally made my way down to the 2nd floor, and suddenly, the shortness of breath I had been feeling up until then was gone, as if it had never happened. I went back to the 3rd floor, wondering, what is this? And the moment I stepped into the classroom, I was hit with a severe headache and shortness of breath that was incomparable to the one I had felt before. When I saw the girls playing Kokkuri-san, at the moment I collapsed, I was so scared and in such pain that I screamed out loud. The girl was so startled by the voice that she removed her finger from the 10-yen coin, and the shortness of breath disappeared immediately. But she was so frightened by what she had just seen that she couldn't stand up for a while. By the way, after that, 2 of the 4 or 5 senior girls were injured and taken away in an ambulance. Also, when the senior collapsed, she saw a girl with abnormally long hair covered in blood peering at the desk where the girl's fingertips were gathered. I've been doing karate since elementary school, and I was an instructor for the children's division for students under the 6th grade in high school and college. During a summer camp in my 2nd year of high school, the students were making a lot of noise in the middle of the night. When I went to tell them off, saying, "Are you still up? You have to get up early tomorrow. What a bunch of idiots," I found out that it was the girls' room that was making all the noise, and more than half of the 15 or so girls were crying. When I asked, "What on earth is going on?" I found out that Ayumi, 6th grade, had asked to play Kokkuri-san at bedtime. At that time, despite Benny, 4th grade, pleading, "No, let's stop this," Ayumi started playing with some other students. As they continued asking questions, the window started to vibrate and rattle, even though there was no wind. They all looked at the window, and at that moment, hands started to move all over the window. Benny fainted, and Ayumi was in a state of confusion, flailing her arms and legs, shouting, "There's something strange here." It was so scary, they couldn't go and call us, and they were in a complete panic. I don't have any psychic powers, and since it's my 2nd year as an instructor, I didn't know what to do. So I went to call the teacher anyway. The teacher encouraged Benny, called all the students into the gym and said, "You don't have enough spirit, so the spirits will come. Let's start with 1,000 straight punches." At around 11 p.m., the children from 1st grade to 6th grade rubbed their sleepy eyes and started shouting, "Come on, come on, 1,000 punches." Needless to say, by the time we finished, everyone was exhausted and went back to their rooms and fell into a deep sleep. When the sensei and I returned to the room, he silently handed me a cup of sake and said, "Didn't you see the many people outside the room? Dozens of them were gathered at the windows of the gym. I tried it out of spite, but I'm really glad it worked." So, this sensei could see them. This story is a little scary to write, because there are so many taboos about it. I think I had psychic powers when I was a child. I say I think I had psychic powers because when I think back on all my spiritual experiences now, I start to doubt whether they really happened. But this one thing I remember clearly as something that really happened. After all, my friend was in a traffic accident. It was when we were playing Kokkuri-san. The atmosphere was lively, with the curiosity typical of elementary school students. But the 10 yen coin only moved slightly. It never moved smoothly, but moved slowly, so I could barely ask a yes or no question. Still, it must have been scary for my timid friend, and he took his finger off before saying, "Please go home," to Kokkuri-san. We started saying "please go home" right there, saying that we would be cursed, and finished Kokkuri-san. However, that day after school, that friend was hit by a car. I was on my way to the pool with another friend, and was horrified to see my friend lying on the road. Fortunately, my friend's injuries were minor, just a fracture, but according to a child who was at the scene, he ran out into the road even though he knew the car was coming. And my friend who had the accident said some incomprehensible things like, "I felt like my mother was calling me, so I thought it was bad." But we were elementary school students. We were having fun and asked, "Shall we ask Kokkuri-san if it was angry because that child let go of the coin?" And we talked about playing Kokkuri-san again. However, when our homeroom teacher heard us, he scolded us with terrible anger, so we called off the Kokkuri-san. "You can't play Kokkuri-san just for fun." We nodded obediently. But it was so bad that we asked the homeroom teacher later why. He said that he had also incurred the wrath of Kokkuri-san before. This is a story from when the teacher was in high school. The teacher, who was a member of the volleyball club, apparently decided to play Kokkuri-san in earnest after club activities were over. There were 4 of them. They had properly researched everything from the direction to all the rest of it. The Kokkuri-san moved the 10 yen coin smoothly and, to everyone's surprise, answered simple questions like who likes who. The members got carried away and asked, "Finally, please tell us the name of the Kokkuri-san." The 10 yen coin started to move and spell out sushi and ko. The members laughed at the name. As expected, the Kokkuri-san got angry. His fingers wouldn't let go of the 10 yen coin, and the club room doors wouldn't open, so they were in a state of panic. They cried and apologized for about 3 hours. I guess it was a kind spirit to begin with. Then, the Kokkuri-san finally said, "I'll forgive you if you come to the big tree and apologize," and released everyone. But the members didn't go to apologize because it was scary. Kokkuri-san is not something you should play around with after all. Oh, and I just remembered. This music teacher married an art teacher at work while we were in school. It was a shotgun marriage, so I hated the idea of them doing something while teaching us. The child they gave birth to was born with complications. This is from when I was in the 2nd year of junior high school. For some reason, Kokkuri-san was popular at the school I went to. It was me and the guys in my class who played it, and whenever we had time, like during breaks or after school, we would play Kokkuri-san with different members. We tried using pens instead of just 10 yen coins, and in a normal school, we would probably get scolded by teachers or adults with some knowledge of that sort of thing if they saw us. But since the school I went to was an American school, I think the teachers probably thought, well, it's okay. It's just a game that's popular at the moment anyway. Although we were scolded by Japanese teachers. In America, there is something like Western Kokkuri-san, which is played using a Ouija board. So my foreign friends, who knew about it through their parents, and the other kids who knew about it, definitely didn't play Kokkuri-san, even when I invited them. But I was a brat, and my half-Japanese friends had information about both cultures, so we thought, it's just a superstition. It's like an urban legend. If a friend who doesn't speak Japanese does it with a 10 yen coin, will a Japanese spirit come? Then you can't have a spiritual connection. On the other hand, what if a Japanese spirit comes with a Ouija board? Do they speak in English? And we did it as a game. My friends, including myself, were like, well, if the 10 yen coin moves, we're lucky. I and my friends who play with me are scared, but we don't have any psychic powers or anything. And even if the 10 yen coin moves, even a little, we had a weird realist side to us, thinking maybe someone is unconsciously moving it. So one day I decided to invite my friends, Shota and Jun, who were both in a year below me. These two self-proclaimed to have psychic powers, and Shota in particular had a strong psychic power in his family, and I often heard people say that they had spiritual experiences since they were young. Since it was a self-proclaimed experience, I don't know how much of it was true, but I thought it would create a better atmosphere. I have never had a spiritual experience, and I hoped that maybe some strange phenomena would occur, so I decided to try it after school. I can't remember if it was autumn or spring, but I'm sure it was at the end of the term, and even though it was after school, most students went home after their tests, so only us and a few other people who were seriously doing their homework were left at school. I think it was around 3 o'clock. We decided to play Kokkuri-san in the classroom next to the students who were doing their homework, just in case something happened. When we decided to play, Shota said, "I don't want to look at the paper directly, because I'm scared." I replied, "So what are we going to do?" Shota said, "I'll put my finger on the 10-yen coin and never let it go. Can I just keep my face down?" Jun and I agreed. "Yeah, sure, but please don't let it go." And so, we started playing Kokkuri-san. After saying the usual questions, the 10-yen coin did move. Oh, Shota probably doesn't know because his face is down, but Jun must be unconsciously moving it. After all, that kid claims to have psychic powers, and I thought, so this Kokkuri-san failed too, and I asked it a lot of questions. I don't remember exactly, but I think the spirit that descended was a Chinese spirit who died when he was a child. Jun seriously said, "Poor thing, he died when he was little," and asked me for my agreement. I was bored, so I thought, maybe it's time for him to go home. "Kokkuri-san, Kokkuri-san, please go home." The 10-yen coin didn't move at all. It had been moving smoothly up until then, so I was a little worried about why it had stopped moving now. I thought Jun had moved it anyway, so I asked Jun, "Do you not want to go home?" in a deliberately urging manner. And Jun, unable to hide his impatience, asked me back, "Hey, why?" Anyway, I asked it to go home again. Then, the 10-yen coin moved smoothly to the no side. We, me and Jun, were scared and desperately asking it to go home, but the 10-yen coin did not move. I started to think that this might be dangerous. Then I noticed something. Shota had not spoken since he started playing Kokkuri-san. It's partly because he is not looking at the paper and has his face down, but he must be able to hear the conversation. I thought that perhaps he had fallen asleep and that he should wake up because it's a bit dangerous right now, so I shook him. But Shota did not wake up as if he was asleep. His finger was still in the 10-yen coin. I panicked a little and said, "Kokkuri-san, Kokkuri-san, what can I do to get you to go home?" Then, the 10-yen coin that had not moved from no started to move. Shit. I followed it with my eyes as it was going to the na row. This is bad. It might write shine, which is die in Japanese. I can't take it. Fear took over, and I didn't want to move the 10-yen coin for now. Oh no, I thought, but I was on the verge of weeping. Shota didn't seem to understand the situation, so we tried desperately to wake him up with our fingers still on it. However, Shota didn't say a word. Just as we were thinking what to do, like, should we call an adult, Shota suddenly started laughing. He did so, and didn't change his position. Our fear had reached its limit, so he left Shota and ran away, screaming from the classroom. Then, half crying, we ran into the classroom next door where the students were doing their homework. We found the face of our male friend among the students doing their homework and told him what had happened so far. "That's so stupid," he said, half laughing, and came with me to the classroom where we were playing Kokkuri-san. But when he saw Shota still laughing alone in the classroom, he also turned pale. First, he shook Shota, but he still didn't wake up. So he slapped Shota back and forth in the face. Then, Shota said, "What?" Jun and I, who are cowards and have no friends, watched what was happening from the doorway. When I asked Shorter about the situation, he said, "I remember that I started playing Kokkuri-san, but I don't remember anything after that. I didn't see any ghosts or experience any strange phenomena like in horror movies. But at that time, I really thought I was going to die. After that, we had to decide on how to dispose of the paper we used for Kokkuri-san, what to do with the 10 yen coin, and so on. This was something that another friend who later took care of that, and then Shorter experienced. I didn't have any spiritual problems after that, so I'll leave it out. The conclusion is that the next day, half of the students who took their final exam in the classroom where we played Kokkuri-san felt sick, so the exam was unusually scheduled to be held again on another day. After that, the vice principal called me and told me to stay home for 3 days. He said, "You probably know the reason," and didn't mention the reason for the suspension. That's all. Sorry for the long story. Hello watchers and listeners, thank you all so much for listening. If you have a story you'd like to share with the channel, please send it to my email, which will be found in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, consider signing up for my Patreon, which you can watch my videos ad-free and usually with bonus stories, as well as other perks depending on the level. This year, I will be redesigning my merch store, so keep an eye out for that one. And as always, the biggest thank you is to all of you. I truly appreciate all of your support over the last couple of years. And remember,
Papa loves you.